Hello and welcome to Stainland in Yorkshire, the home of the Ainley family for more than 700 years. And what's really exciting is that we've just found Gosport Lane, where in 1861 Charlesworth Ainley lived, aged 20, with his wife and young child. What's really interesting is that Charlesworth's parents had died when he was very young, and at the age of 6 he'd gone to live with his grandfather, who's called John, who farmed in this area. He had 17 acres that he looked after and 14 children, so he was a very, very busy man. Charlesworth became a wool weaver in one of the many mills in the area, as did one of his sons, Thomas. And by 1901, Thomas, your great-great-grandfather, had moved to Leeds and become a greengrocer. However, it was to be his son John Reginald, known as Reg, and his wife Alice, who showed true entrepreneurial flair. In 1922, Alice was the first woman in Leeds to ride a motorbike.
Hi, I'm Richard Ainley Gorbett, and I'm the cousin of your father, and we're going to talk about your great-grandfather, Reginald, who was our grandfather, but we never had the chance to meet as he sadly passed away in 1954. He was quite the entrepreneur in Leeds, however, because he had a building firm, a cinema, and a chain of electrical shops. And Reg was the first person in the north of England ever to have a television set. In those days, TV was only far north as Birmingham, Sutton Coldfield. So he drove down, picked up a television set and a huge aerial, stuck up a huge mast in the aerial in his back garden in Montague Crescent, Leeds, pointing it towards Sutton Coldfield. He then took this huge TV set that only had like a 9-inch screen, put it in the living room, stuck a huge mirror in the front and ripped the back off. And the goal was he would mess around inside the back of the TV watching what happened to the picture. So that when TV finally launched in the north of England from a transmitter I believe at the time was Home Moss, your great-grandfather was the first person to be able to sell TVs, know all about it and do well. So that was your great-grandfather, Reginald.
Their super cinema, the Regal, opened in 1936, and it was the largest cinema in the country, with state-of-the-art projection equipment. Sadly, it closed in 1964 and was demolished to make way for a supermarket. So how did the Merediths and the Ainleys come to be united? Well, it was here in the stunning surroundings of Roundy Park in Leeds that Lillian Meredith and her friends would go out promenading, and they'd bump into Geoffrey Ainley and his friends, and they would come here to the mansion and spend a lot of time enjoying themselves. In 1958, Geoff Ainley and Lillian Meredith were married. And by the 1960s, the Ainleys had moved here to Montague Crescent. Geoffrey, Lillian and children Stephen and Karen lived at number 18, and Nana Ainley lived just down the road. Auntie Ivy, my godmother, lived opposite, and David Goulden lived a bit further up the road still. After Geoff died, Lillian married David, and the family moved to Colchester, where your dad Stephen grew up, before meeting and marrying your mum Karen. And the rest, as they say, is history.